Who is it?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I wasn't going to do a show tonight, but things is just really heating up with the SCOF business. So I'm going to give you the latest information, and I shall give you my thoughts on it. This is not going to be a proper show, but it will. I'm going to tell you some of the things that I will be discussing, but I think it's a little bit too early because I think there's going to be a hell of a lot happening in the next week. So I don't want to get ahead of myself, so to speak. So anyway, here we are. Now, since I last made a broadcast about PHILLIP Schofield, well, the shit has really hit the fan. And there's a hell of a lot of questions need answering, and there is more questions than answers at the moment, and all kinds of people have been coming out of the woodwork trying to distance themselves from PHILLIP Schofield and the incident, and all I can say is I call bullshit on all of them because I don't quite know where to start with this, actually, but I will say that Eamon Holmes has been doing a couple of interviews. Very angry and bitter he is about it. Now, I defended Eamon Holmes the other day, but like I said, after I saw how he was, giving him a big kiss and a cuddle after he come out as gay, and I thought, well, listen, if you felt so strongly about PHILLIP Schofield, and to be honest with you, even if someone was paying me on that show, and so, today, what's PHILLIP's going to come out, and he's going to come out as gay. But, and I hated the bloke's guts, and I couldn't say nothing about him because, hey, he's fucking a young boy on the show. I mean, what can I do? What would I do? But I'll tell you something I wouldn't do. I wouldn't go up and shake his hand and say, oh, you're such a brave man, because this is what Eamon Holmes did on the show. A man who couldn't stand Schofield, apparently. So why would he go up and say, oh, yeah, you're so brave? It's bullshit. It doesn't make sense. It's as if Eamon Holmes, it's not just Eamon Holmes, but other people are trying to distance themselves. I had nothing to do with PHILLIP Schofield. Oh, yeah, I didn't know anything, but I did know something. Why not say something at the time? Who made official complaint? No, everybody was too scared to do anything. But I'll tell you something. The thing has got out of control because it's got to Parliament, and there's going to be an investigation about ITV about this. But anyway, let's see what's on my list, because I've got some bad news about McGREEVY as well. He's been located. He's in Cumbria, and he's been working in a pub, apparently. I mean, I don't think he'd need to work in a pub because I think he's been getting quite a lot of money already as part of this NDA, settlement. But like I said, that's either expired or it's about to expire. But the problem is, McGREEVY has spoken, and he's basically said, "Oh, it's a private thing. It's between me and Scof and all this kind of thing." So it just makes me think, well, because ITV are in the shit now, and the top management are really in the shit because they knew all about it, and they have to try and do damage limitation. Forget Scof. I mean, Scof's dead in the water, totally dead in the water. But ITV management have got to cover their own asses. So they'll be protecting Scof into the bargain. They can't go around and say, oh, yeah, the man's a sicko, because they were totally complicit with his actions at this place. One woman in particular, Caroline McCall. Now, she's got to, there's some people have tried to speak to McGreevy, and yet they've been referred to a top lawyers in London. Now, how did this happen? How could a bloke like McGreevy afford top lawyers in London? This isn't nothing to do with Murdoch. It's because McCall's got to him first. ITV have got to him first. And they've said, look, sign this piece of paper. We'll cover all the legal expenses. Say nothing. Also, Schofield's wife, who's been, oh, yes, well, I still love him, even though he's a gay man, you know, and because questions have been asked about how much she knew, all of a sudden she's come out and said, oh, I didn't know about this boy. I'm really upset. I'm very angry. She's been told to say that as well, because, like I said, she's been complicit with this thing since it began. Because, I mean, we're going back to the fucking 80s. He was fucking Schof was fucking Jason Donovan. I know for a fact they were both in the same room together before the Radio 1 Roadshow in Eastbourne in 1992. That's a year before Schof got married. And he probably got married as a result of the rumours between him and Jason Donovan. Yeah. Fucking each other. This is what happens when people say, when a family brand is under threat and there's big money involved, what's the best thing to do? Hello, Emily Bowden. How are you? What's the best thing to do? Oh, get married. Show everybody you're a family guy. Yeah, have a test tube baby as well. You know, I mean, there's always a willing woman out there. I mean, you just got to look at Schofield's wife to look at her and say, yeah, she hadn't had sex for fucking 20 years. But anyway, let's go through what's been happening. So there's been questions in Parliament. This highly dubious Eamon Holmes interview with Dan Wootton. Now, like I said, Dan Wootton really got a beef with Schof, because, I mean, he was on the show with him and Schof got him taken off the show. So, you know, this is a personal thing between him. It's also a personal thing with Eamon Holmes. But like I said, these two people, they knew about this fucking runner, or he's been called a runner and a boy, but he wasn't. I mean, he was presenting shows. He had little skits in This Morning. Why would he? Why would he be dressed up as an elf drinking whiskey, being plied with booze by? Now, Eamon Holmes said something peculiar. He was sort of talking in code in the interview. So, oh yes, we knew the run. We knew McGREEVY. Didn't say his name because they call him the boy. And he was saying, he kept saying, like, he was always short of money. And you know what? You've got to read into that, and you've got to say, well, why was he always short of money? Did he have a cocaine problem? Is that what you're trying to say? You know, because that's the only thing I can think. He was short of money. Now, you know, if somebody's always on the ponce, they're either a gambler or a cokehead. Now, looking at that guy, he don't look like the sort of fellow with a pencil behind his ear, like putting stupid odds on a horse race or a dog race or anything like that. No, nothing to do with that. So it's the cocaine problem he's hinting at. And, oh, yes, well, my wife Ruth's been in touch with him. Now, she's on this dreadful show, Loose Women, which comes on directly after This Morning, which is the show that Schof's been thrown off of. Now, his wife, Eamon Holmes' wife, this is Ruth, she was looking very awkward in the show, apparently. I don't watch Loose Women because it's the biggest pile of shit you could ever imagine, full of stupid people. And they just keep putting loads of black people on there at the moment, apparently, just since the Black Lives Matter, which also leads me to another thing. This morning, the programme is dead because Holly Willoughby won't be able to come back to the show. I mean, she said she's going to be back on Monday, all smiles, but it ain't going to happen because too much is happening. Every day something's happening. Every minute something's happening. And like I said, ITV have paid off McGREEVY because, you know, his evidence will be damning. So he's being paid a lot of money. He's got the top lawyers working at ITV, got their top lawyers working for him. And because there's going to be a great big cover up from ITV, they had to get to him. They had to offer him a lot of money to say, oh, no, I just love the man and I don't want to talk about it. You wouldn't do, would you? But it's like I said, if Murdoch can get his hands on McGreevy and say, fuck what anybody else has paid you, I'm going to give you double, treble what those people are giving you. And he might be able to. But you've got to remember that this McGreevy And I'll tell you some information about the awards show. He's a screaming queen, you know, a vulnerable person who's been used, he's been groomed. He's as gay as fuck. But like I said, maybe he didn't know he was as gay as fuck. At 9 years old, you don't know. You probably don't know nothing about sex at that age. But like I said, after being in the hands of Simon Schofield and PHILLIP Schofield, he probably don't know. His head's probably pointing the wrong direction now. He's gay as fuck. And this is what really caused all the trouble. So anyway, so although McGREEVY has been found, nobody can talk to him because, like I said, he's just given a quick statement and that's the end of it. You know, like, oh, here's my lawyers, and the lawyers don't fucking go near him, sort of thing. But anyway, for people who didn't know anything, ITV was paying for a car to pick that boy up, take him to Schofield's flat, and then take him to work in the morning. Who was paying for it? ITV was paying for it. When they said, ITV said there was an investigation into it. There wasn't an investigation, or the investigation was, have you been having illicit affairs with a younger man on the show? Inappropriateness? No. Okay, then. Thanks very much. You can go. And that was it. That was the investigation. Anybody else who did try and speak up, and nobody did. And also, there's another fella, Dr. Raj. He came out and said, oh, there's a toxicity in this program and I got taken off. Well, there's a picture of this fucking Dr. Raj putting his arm around McGreevy and saying he's a stud. I mean, it's so twisted, the whole fucking thing. I can't keep up with it. I can't. Anyway, so Schofield's wife has given a statement, which is a false trail of breadcrumbs, in my opinion, because, like I said, she knew all along. If he's been known as being a queer since the 80s, I mean, you know, you can't just get married in 1993 and then say, oh, yeah, I'm straight. Right, so McGreevy's been paid off by ITV. Carolyn McCall, who's the ITV executive in charge of the show, and she's a lefty wokey type, and she's trying to cover her own arse, saying, oh, I've done this and I did that, and no, there was no inappropriateness there. She's paid off all these people with ITV's cash. Eamon Holmes, I can't trust that bloke. He knew much more than he said he knew. It's all very well coming out at the 11th. Everybody wants to distance himself now the shit's hit the fan. But why not before? Because Eamon Holmes has been sacked from this morning, 2 years ago? After the McGreevy scandal, he'd been sacked. Why didn't he say anything after that? Why did he just start talking about it now? Since he's had a bust up with PHILLIP Schofield. It just, you know, Anyway, so, you know, this has been raised in Parliament. They're going to get the external lawyers to come and investigate. But like I said, they've covered their tracks already. They've got to McGreevy. They've got to Schofield's wife, you know, because like I said, Schofield's wife's been, oh, yeah, we still love each other and everything. Hello, Mr. Manny Voices. Oh, we still love each other. But all of a sudden she's changed her tune. Like, oh, I didn't know anything about this boy. I thought he was just a friend. You know, it's the ITV lawyers saying you've got to put this statement out because otherwise people are going to start saying that you knew all along that your husband was queer. And that ain't going to look good on you. And it doesn't look good on womankind that a woman is quite happy to sit at home and tolerate this sort of fake marriage for 27 years with test tube children, obviously. No problem. Bubba Schwartz. So there's an ITV cover-up, obviously. What else we got? So, like I said, Schofield and Jason Donovan were fucking each other in the 80s. And like I said, I've got proof of this because I know that they stayed in the Queen's Hotel the night before the Radio 1 roadshow at Eastbourne in the same room. Right, so Anyway, listen, the shit hit the fan at the TV awards show. Now, McGreevy, considering the bloke was supposed to be a runner on the show, was invited onto the stage to pick up the award. Why? Why such a lowly person, a person who is officially being told to get a sandwich, get a cup of coffee for the guests? Why is he on stage picking up the award? And if you look at that footage, if you look at my last video, it begins with this footage. And I think there had already been a bit of a bust up because apparently he was McGreevy was very drunk and emotional that night. And he professed his love in front of everybody on that table to PHILLIP Schofield. And of course, there was doubt in front of Schofield's wife as well. So, of course she knew about it. Then he got shuffled out of the award show, and he was waiting outside. And then he saw Holly Willoughby, and he gave her a kiss outside, and was getting all emotional and having a grizzle. Now, listen, if he spoke to Eamon Holmes' wife, Eamon Holmes, he was present when Schofield's wife was at the ceremony. He was on the same table as all the VIPs for that show, and he said that he loved PHILLIP. Then everybody fucking knew anyway. So why is everybody saying, "Oh, we didn't know"? You know what I mean? It's like I said, he was taken outside to protect Schofield's reputation, obviously, because he was too drunk, and he was opening his gob. So be quiet. Immediately after that night, he was, inverted commas, promoted to fucking loose women. I mean, loose women is not promotion. And his job there is like a runner, same thing as he was doing on this morning. Basically, a dog's body. Somebody go and fetch the sandwiches, go and get this, go and get that. And anyway, being promoted to a runner on loose women, he wasn't appearing on camera doing little skits like interviewing Schofield and things like that, because that's what he was doing on this morning. He was getting more and more involved. But there is a rumour that Schofield had moved on to another young runner, and he's got a history of young runners on the show. So, there's a lot more to come out, and they've just got to get to the right people. The right people have got to speak. But also, we found something else about Schofield's good mate and former boyfriend, Simon Schofield. Now, he run this two-faced, and it's called Two-Faced drama group. And you see the age of these kids, they're very, very young. And I think this was set up as a sort of groomer factory, which is where they plucked McGreevy from. So this is really serious stuff. It's so fucking sick. Anyway, as I said, the program this morning is finished because, they can't. There's two people, and they said, "Oh yeah, we're carrying." Holly's not going to come back. Holly Willoughby. She knew all about this, and she said, "Oh, I didn't know anything." She did, and she can't answer questions. The top lawyers will be protecting her as well. She won't be able to answer anything. But mud sticks. There's too much mud sliding down the wall at the moment. And Holly Willoughby, she was apparently Holly Willoughby, who goes on holiday, bestest friends with Schofield, and yet all going on holiday together with the wife. So they were all complicit together in it. The wife was complicit as well. And we're supposed to swallow this bullshit. It's like I said, your average punter out there on the street is not the most intelligent person in the world. What they see on TV is what they think they're getting. So if this big bubble was burst, it's going to take a lot of, there's going to be blood on the streets because of it, a lot of it. And like I said, it goes right up to the tip top in ITV. So Willoughby claims she knew nothing. Willoughby's finished. Now, the whole show's finished because, like I said, who have they got left? Now, Willoughby, she hasn't, she said she's coming back. She won't come back. I'm telling you, it's too dangerous for her to go back. But there's this big fat black woman, Hammond or something she's called, and she's useless, absolutely useless. But because she's black, they want her on the show because she's black, and she just goes. That's her interview technique. She just laughs a lot. She laughs a lot, so it keeps the idiots at home happy. Oh, well, I haven't got a good question to ask you, so I'm going to go. And she is fucking repulsive. So, she cannot continue, because there's one thing I'll say for Phillip Schofield. He was good at reading that autocue, and he's got a long history in TV, and like I said, this show can't survive without him, because there's a bloke called Dermot O'Leary, and these are sort of like backup presenters, so if Holly Willoughby's on holiday or Schofield's on holiday or his day off, these people have to step in and continue the show, but they're just not up to it. They're useless, they're real amateurs. The bloke, Dermot O'Leary, is as wooden as fuck. And this Alison Hammond, she's just a black face. And you know what they're like at presenting? Absolutely shit. So, what else have we got? Yes. And people have sort of like in recent days, people have sort of mentioned a woman called what was her name, Caroline Flack. Now, she used to do the Love Island, and then she smashed her sleeping boyfriend over the head with an onyx lamp, and he phoned the police. Police come round, filmed everything when they went into the house, and then he backed down. ITV had paid the man off, said, look, don't say anything, we'll give you a lot of money if you just shut up. So it went to court. She got arrested and then released, but as it was about to go to trial, ITV stepped in, tried to say, look, they even went to the Home Secretary and said, look, can you drop the charges against her, because she's a family name and everything. The Home Secretary wouldn't do it. So there was all this behind the scenes bullshit going on. Anyway, she hung herself. And rightly so, but she was fucked up anyway. I mean, she was a junkie, she was a drunk, and people keep saying, "Oh, what about if he ends up like Caroline Flack?" Oh, Caroline Flack was a victim. She wasn't a victim. She committed GBH on a sleeping man. She's a psychopathic lunatic, a junkie, a drunk, a piece of shit, and she shouldn't have been on TV either. And like I said, they're saying, oh, this could happen to Schofield. It might get too much for him to kill himself. Let me tell you about, like I said, Schofield is a psychopath, and psychopaths do not kill themselves. No, they just make excuses for their behaviour. Like, oh, it wasn't my fault. It happened because of this, or it happened because of that. They'll never stand there. I mean, if I do something wrong in my life, I'll hold my hand up to it and I say, yeah, I fucked up. I'm really sorry about that. I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? That's just me. I'm not a psychopath though, but these people, they don't. It's always someone else to blame. And he ain't man enough to fucking take his own life, which is what he should do. And like you say, oh, Invisible Ray, you've been a little bit cruel there. Hello, Richie. But I'm not being cruel, because this person is a fucking monster. He's worse than Savile. I mean, some people say, oh, no, he's not as bad as Savile. You wait until all this information comes out, baby. You wait until it comes out. It is fucking sick. And it's a lot worse than what you think, because like I said, there's certain things I can't say here because of, legal issues. But I do know a few things about what should be coming out very shortly about him. So anyway, oh yeah, I forgot to say there's a few things American viewers should know about Schofield in the last few years. One of the funny things is Schofield went up to the then Prime Minister, David Cameron. Is it his name? Was that his name? Cameron? I've forgotten. He was such a nondescript Prime Minister. And he had this fucking scribbled note with a list of paedophiles on it. And he handed it to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister says, oh, I don't think this is the right thing to do, But you could actually see some of the names of the supposed paedophiles. And I thought, fancy Schofield giving this, trying to hand Cameron this list of paedophiles, considering he's the fucking worst offender out of the lot. But I suppose, like I said, these people operate in plain sight. It's not the first and he's not the last person to do that. So, so I'm just going through this little list of things I've got to tell you before the big show. Oh yeah, by the way, Kerry Katona was having an interview with Dan Wootton last night. She was supposed to be saying what a wanker Schofield is, but I think she's on some sort of pills or medication because she was acting totally fucked up in the head. Totally fucked up. Fuck knows what she was saying. It was completely bonkers. Yeah, I've said that. Yeah, it's like I said, though, we have to ask ourselves, I mean, this goes for international audience out there. We have to ask ourselves, where is our society going? I mean, I don't expect the people I see on TV to be exactly the same as they are on TV. I mean, we're all normal people. I mean, Professor Tim Wilson, whatever his name is, said the other day, you know, we're basically all animals, but we have to live a daily thing where we have to control our more. I mean, we've all got good and bad inside us, and we all have dark thoughts sometimes, you know, sinister thoughts even. But what we do in our daily routine is we don't act on them, or we suppress them, and we control ourselves. But a psychopath can't control themselves. They will put their hand up a woman's skirt. They will put their hand down the waiter's trousers and touch his dick. They will cut your throat while you're sleeping. I mean, these are the sort of people we're dealing with. They will throw other people under the bus. They will send other people to their death if necessary, because they don't give a fuck. But like I said, this sort of thing should be regulated. You know, what happened to the days when you could trust your boss? You know, you could go up to the boss and say, this has happened and that's happened. What are you going to do about it? And the boss says, well, company policy says I'm going to do something about it right now. You know, I mean, it's like people covering for other people, wrong people being put into jobs, wrong people given the purse strings, you know, and like I said, because it's ITV, it's not our money. But like I said, you know, a lot of advertising has been lost because of all this, you know, because ITV rely on advertising. But the BBC has got a constant, the BBC is paid for by the taxpayer. We pay for it. And yet I don't watch the BBC because it's just become so dumbed down, and it's got such a left-wing opinion these days that it's impossible to watch. I mean, the other day it was like they're moving the grave of the dog who was Guy Gibson's dog, who was in the Dam Busters raid. Now, I can't mention the dog's name, but it's one of John Lennon's songs that begins with an N, and it's just the first word of that song. And they've changed, but basically when they mention that, we call him Igor. Igor's grave is going to be moved because they've put the RAF base is closed down. They're putting illegal immigrants in there now, and they just said it's inappropriate for this dog to be buried there. Where you know, he got hit on the night of the Dam Busters raid by a car, and he's been buried there ever since. And he's not only had to put up with the indignity of having his name covered up on that grave, but now they're going to move his fucking grave. But how the BBC reported on it was they said the infamous Dam Busters raid. It wasn't infamous. it's one of our greatest moments in history where we was on a real low. You know, the Americans hadn't joined the war. We couldn't get to the Germans, and they invented a bouncing bomb. And a few brave men from the Commonwealth and Britain and Australia and Canada, they all went out there on this deadly mission. About 70% of them didn't make it back, but they blew up a couple of dams. There's a film called The Dam Busters, and they've blotted the dog's name out of that now, and it was actually the code word. As soon as that bouncing bomb hit the dam, I was going to say the N word. So it's really important historically as well. But, you know, they cover up history and everything. But that's besides the point, that there's such a left-wing agenda on mainstream TV, and ITV's no different, that it's impossible. I can't watch it anymore. I spend my time watching GB News and things like that on YouTube. And, you know, I shouldn't have to do that. It'd be nice to sit down and watch regular TV, but I can't anymore. You know, if there's a new drama, oh, it's got to have a black chief of police, or it's got to have an Indian David Copperfield. You know, or a fucking Chinaman here. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't represent my life. It doesn't represent the people that I call English. Sorry if that's racist, but, you know, it's just the way I feel. So anyway, this whole thing's worse than Savile. And like I said, you'll find out if things aren't covered up totally, you'll find out exactly how bad this is. So what else is there? Yes, I'm just going through these notes here. So just to recap, everybody who's been coming out and condemning Schofield, and I'm not sticking up for Schofield. Schofield is scum. He's an odious monster. And, you know, like I said, he's not going to kill himself because he's not man enough to do that. He's a psychopath. But the other people are just as bad. Holly Willoughby, Eamon Holmes' wife, this Caroline McCall, Dr. Raj, the loose women, Jason Donovan. These people and lots more people knew about this. Alison Hammond and Dermot O'Leary, they all knew about fucking Schofield and said nothing. And they're still saying nothing. Oh, we want to keep our jobs. Even Jim Davis is not saying that much about it. You know, he's got his own personal issues with Schofield, but he's not saying anything about it. Mind you, he's had his own problems with being a sex pest, hasn't he? But he's a right-wing sex pest, which is why he's not on TV anymore. So, like, and McGreevy's been paid off by ITV, and Schofield's wife has spoken out like, "Oh, I didn't know this," which is bullshit. She's been complicit since the start, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh no, I didn't know." She's just been told to say that. You'll see them next week together, being best mates. She's not pissed off about it at all. She knew about it. Like I said, there's a lot more to come out. But on that note, I shall leave you. I've got to go. Good night, everybody. We'll do a special show next week when we've got more shit, which I can tell you about. In the meantime, pip, pip.